Thank you. So I'm Maura Kelly. I'm the director of the Accelerate the Future program. I'm just going to give you a little bit just of an overview of what the Accelerate the Future program is, with the understanding that there are some things and structures set up within our program that may not fully translate to any of the programs that you're in, but just to go over, these are things that we've done that have been really helpful. And Sarah is one of our program coordinators, and Ben is one of our program advisors within this program. So they'll really go through all the details, and they're really more versed in kind of what this means. But really just intrusive advising is really just, it's a more proactive, collaborative, hands-on approach to advising. So really getting in there to support students to really be kind of, for lack of a better term, a little bit annoying to them, but really getting in there to say, hey, we're here. How can we help you with this? So if you're not familiar with the Accelerate the Future cohort program, it is a community-based version or branch of the campus-based Masters in Counseling and Psychology program. So we take the full program that is developed and is working here on campus, and we bring it to community-based mental health agencies to create cohorts of students at the agency that are all actively employed at that agency. We meet and have classes there, so we go to them. And part of this really sort of breaks down some of the barriers that a lot of people have to coming back to grad school. We're very fortunate to be working with Accelerate the Future Family Foundation as part of our funder, and to have grant funding to really also make this program more cost effective. So that is one of the other barriers that this specialty program has created. And the goal of the program is really to increase the workforce of diverse LMHC mental health counselors. In the state of Massachusetts, there are so many people that are incredible and working within the population in mental health counseling at a bachelor level that for one reason or another have not been able to move forward through a master's program. So this is with the support of their employer and with us. So really well-rounded support, they're able to get through this program. Currently, we have 8 cohorts separate are going of it's about 160 students. So definitely a big program. We have 2 coordinators and 2 advisors that it's a little bit of a mix and match of who works with who, but Ben and Sarah work together with a few of the cohorts. And some of the main differences between the campus and cohort model, a lot of it really has to do with how students come to what their program is going to look like. So before they even really fully apply to the program or start the program, the course sequencing has been set up for the entire cohort together. So they all move through it together, they take the same classes and are with each other for the entire time. So they really don't have that need to think about what classes am I taking next, what works within my schedule. It's all preset for them. It's one day a week so that they can say, this is when I'm always going to have class, and it stays that way throughout the entirety of the program. And it's also students are not individually registering themselves because it's, again, they're all moving together. We register them for classes. So a lot of that oftentimes advising is about more of, how do I work with my students to make sure that they're taking the classes they need, they're doing well, they understand their standing within the program, and supporting them in making that progress. A lot of that is already managed for them, which means that we are able to be more flexible with the time that advisors and coordinators have with students. And another piece that's very different is there's a director, a coordinator, and an advisor that are all separate entities. And the advisor and coordinators, that's really the role that they're playing. So again, they have a lot more flexibility within their time. So as Sarah and Ben talk more about specifically what they do, how they communicate with students and faculty, there may be some things that you think, I don't know how that would translate. But here, hopefully you'll get some ideas or some tips and tricks from them that might help you feel more connected to your students, and get them to really reach out and utilize you so you're not chasing them at the last minute. I know happens all the time. So at this point, I will pass it off to Sarah and Ben to continue talking more about this.
Thanks, Maura. So our goals for our advising activities, Ben and myself, and kind of the reason that we use this model for advising is that we want to support student success throughout the program, and ensure student retention. So we want students to stay in the program, and we want to make sure that they graduate from the program and support them in that. And then also to prepare the faculty for the unique group of students they'll be teaching, since this is a cohort model. In many cases, these classes are occurring online, or the in-person classes often occur at the site of the agency that we work with. And this is a group of 20 students who are going to be together in the same class for all 3 years. So, we get to know those students, and we just want to let the faculty know this is what this group of students is like. This is what you can expect. Here's maybe what they struggle with, just to make sure that we've kind of got that understanding of, the group of people that the faculty is walking into, and that they feel comfortable and prepared to support these students. So the way that we kind of conceptualized our activities in intrusive advising is utilizing kind of the timeline of what this tends to look like in action. So we have some different activities that we engage in throughout the semester, starting before the semester starts, and then through the end of the semester. So we're going to go through and kind of break down what we're doing in each of these steps as we stay engaged with the students and the faculty throughout the semester. Starting prior to the semester, again, I'm the program coordinator, and Ben is the graduate advisor. And so we will set up a meeting with the faculty members who are teaching a certain cohort. So for instance, we have a cohort that is taking 2 classes right now. So we set up a meeting, and we met with both professors prior to the beginning of the semester. And at that time, we provided them with some information about the cohort. I mean, some of this, and again, in our program, things are a little bit unique. So some of this was even like, confirming, okay, like what room you're going to in what agency and how to get in the door of the agency. But also making sure faculty just did everything that they needed in general, and felt comfortable and prepared. We were confirmed that this is when your first day of classes. This is the time that you're meeting, confirmed all of the textbook information, because we had some last minute changes with that sometimes. So we just kind of make sure that all of those pieces feel nailed down. And then Ben is going to talk shortly about the Calendly link that he uses and what that's for, but that's how he offers times for students to set up advising sessions with him. So we tell the faculty to make sure they know what supports the students have, that, like we're there to support the students, that we try to be active in our model. And, so the faculty know this, and the faculty can post that linked for how to sign up for sessions with Ben on their Canvas sites. We just like to make sure that students have that in a bunch of different places. And then before the semester starts, we also send out an email to students. And I make really clear in that email, this is the class you're taking, the professor, their contact information, here's when and where you're meeting, here's the required textbook information, to make sure that they have all of that ahead of time. This information sometimes comes out a little bit in waves. Often we know like the class they're taking and the professor, and we might not know the textbook till a week before classes start, but I'll send out a couple weeks before classes start what information we do have. And then students also know that they'll be getting the textbook information as soon as I have it. We remind them about the supports available to them from the program. We remind them about us being here for them. And then we also remind them of the university-wide supports. For our program, largely being off campus, either virtual or with classes occurring at agency sites, can be harder for them to feel connected to what's available in the wider university as different supports. So we also like to remind them of that pretty frequently. And we've found that this kind of frequent communication with students is often what it takes for that information to really sink in and feel available to them. So we can be a little bit repetitive in sharing information with them. You'll see as we keep talking about the activities that we do to connect with them, but have found that that tends to get the best response from them if we kind of reach out more than we think we might need to. Early in the semester, so Ben and or myself try to visit the first class virtually or in person. Um, Often I will attend the first class, and if I'm attending, then and Ben's not, then I will remind them that they have Ben as their program advisor. And I like to put a face to the name. They'll get a lot of emails from me, but it's always nice to have that kind of personal connection where they like get to know what I look like and meet with me. And often, the class will have a little like get to know you, go around in a circle. And I can be a part of that and just, really feel like, yeah, there are people here who are able to support you, not just like an email signature. So that's been very helpful. And then I will check in with faculty about how the first few weeks have gone and any concerns that they have. Usually things go smoothly the first couple of weeks. But I just again like to check in so that then the faculty like remember that they have me as a point person, that they have me if any concerns come up, and to know that like I care about how classes are going and that I want to know. Ben, I'm going to turn it over to you to talk a little bit more about updating the calendar.
So I've found Calendly to be incredibly helpful to get students to actually sign up for advising meetings. Um, I talk with students a lot about the Career Center or academic support and signing up through Starfish, and they just kind of look at me like they have no idea what I'm talking about. Um, and then they go through the Starfish process and then they get confused and they reach out again. So Calendly is a free website you can use to automate the whole process. So you just put in your availability on there and you send students a link. They don't need an account to go through it. They click on the day and the time that they want, and it will automatically send them a Microsoft Teams or Zoom link. And it automatically sends you that link, and it automatically puts that meeting onto your calendar. Um, so it's just made the process very simple for me and simple for students. Um, and what I have found, despite my best efforts, is that students will forget about these appointments all the time because they'll sign up way in advance. Life gets busy and they just don't show up. So I only update 1 month at a time, um, so that they're not signing up too far in advance. And what this also allows me to do is send them a reminder to meet with me every single month. Um, and like Maura said, the goal is kind of to be annoying and intrusive so that they're more connected. And I'll get to how to make that time actually feel worthwhile for those students so that they want to um, check in with me. But yeah, every month students will get an email from me saying, hey, as a reminder, we'll be meeting at some point this semester. I've updated my times for November. Here's the link. Um, and I'll also allow, if the times that I put on there don't happen to work for students, they can email me to find a more specific time. But yeah, that's another task that I'll do early in the semester and throughout. So for the actual advising meetings themselves, these happen the first week of the semester and they happen the very last day of the semester. Um, it kind of depends on the student. I'll usually send out an initial Calendly link the week before the semester starts, and there's always a couple people who, within 2 minutes, have signed up for an appointment. And then there's people towards the end that I'm kind of chasing down to meet with me. Um, but given the nature of intrusive advising and us being more proactive with connecting with these students, I find it to be important that the students are taking away some value from these meetings. And like Maura mentioned, one of the main differences between our program and others is that the classes are already predetermined. So we don't even talk about course registration or schedules or anything like that. It might come up with a student asking me, what class am I taking next semester? But that's about it. So that leaves a lot of time to be checking in on a number of other things. One of the other unique aspects of this program is that all of these students are working in the field as they're taking classes to get their degree, which means they are juggling potentially a full-time job, coursework. Some of them are parents. Like, they have a lot going on. And one of the main goals for advising is keeping them retained in the program so they can graduate. So one of the tasks I work with students throughout their time in the program is developing the big why of just, why are you here and what are you hoping to get out of this program, whether it's during the program, after the program, or 10 years from now. And I find that having a reason for why they are doing what they're doing just helps reduce the burnout. I think as well, like, a lot of, you know, I work with kids as a therapist in my job, and they all complain about, when am I ever going to use this in real life? And a cool thing about grad school is, like, you will almost definitely use everything you're learning in real life. And so by talking with them about what they hope to get out of this program, they can really connect the dots between what they're learning in class to what they will be doing in their professional life. So I talk with them about career development. I talk with them about their current jobs that they're working now and how they're applying what they're learning in class to the work that they do every day. And it's always really cool to hear students tell me their story of, like, what got them to where they are now. For some of them, they are immigrants from another country, and they've been a counselor in that other country, and they want to get their license in America. For some of them, they've worked a bachelor's level role for 2 decades and they're ready to climb the ladder. For other people, they are fresh out of college and they know that they want to do this as their full-time job. And so I try to get them to be as specific as they can of, like, who do you want to work with when you're a therapist, or what kind of agency might you want to work at? Do you want to start your own practice someday down the road? And so getting them to talk about all of these things can help make doing that one really painful reading assignment a little bit more manageable, because at least there's a reason why. The other thing we talk about is academic support. So like I mentioned, work-life school balance is pretty crucial, especially for these students who are working full-time jobs or have families. So I get them to share a bit about challenges that they're facing, questions they have about the courses themselves, and maybe I can answer it myself. I can help them come up with a question to ask their professors to get more clarity on assignments. We'll talk about time management skills if that's something that they're struggling with. And then, like I said, a handful of these students are coming back to school for the first time in sometimes 3 or 4 decades. And so they have no idea how to use PowerPoint. They don't know how to use Outlook. They don't know how to use Canvas. or it's just been a very long time since they've written a paper. They know how to go to the library, but they don't know how to search an online library database. So oftentimes in these sessions, I'm sharing my screen and sort of walking them through some of these steps, and or connecting them to resources on or off campus. So that might be, a lot of our students are searching for internships right now, so that might be connecting them with the Career Center. Some of these students are feeling overwhelmed, burnt out, stressed, so that's the counseling center. Some of them need accommodations and they've never done that before, or they just need someone to like take a look at their papers that they're writing. And so that's CASA. So I'm helping them connect to these services and then also following up with them after the fact to make sure that they did. Whether it's just forgetfulness or they're busy, it can fall through the cracks. So sometimes it's me reaching out on their behalf to connect them with someone, or during our advising meeting itself, we'll send an email together. Yeah, and then, like I said, I'll share my screen and go to the library website. I'll show them how to search for peer-reviewed articles, set the filters on that. We'll go to the like Purdue OWL and look at the how to cite an APA source. So it's not quite academic tutoring or instruction, but just some of those basic skills that students might need a refresher on or might need to learn for the first time. But overall, like all of these things help provide value to the advising meeting itself so that it's not obnoxious and annoying when they get 30 emails from us to meet, but they can take away something genuinely useful.
All right. And then moving into the middle of the semester, so at about the halfway point, I like to check in with faculty again. And at this point, I tend to ask more specific questions since usually a bigger assignment or two has been due and graded. So they have a little bit more of a sense of how students are doing in the course. And some of those specific questions that I will plan to ask are how the course is going overall, and then any students that the professor has specific concerns about, any students who have missed a significant number of classes that could begin to impact their grade if they miss any more, or any students who have less than a B average based on the GPA requirements for our program. And then asking about any identified areas where multiple students might benefit from more supports. So sometimes, like as Ben said, if people are returning to school after a long break, there might be things that multiple people in the class are struggling with. And we, in our program, are able to provide more support around that so that it's not all put on the professor to be trying to provide this support to students or have the students feel lost in how to go about this. So we'll also look for, are there any areas where we might reach out to students and help them connect to resources. And I always like to thank professors as well for their work with students and kind of just also maintain the collegiality of my work with faculty, because they do a lot to support these students, and I am very grateful for the work that they do. And this is also the beginning of the point in the semester where I'm making notes to myself of, the students that there are any concerns about, and making sure, do they need, I might forward those names along to Ben and say, like, have you talked to these students? If you haven't, can they be a priority? And also starting to think about if there's any student that is going to need to withdraw or fill out an incomplete. That might be a student that is getting flagged now, but that is something that I start paying attention to in the middle of the semester, nearing the end of the semester, follow up again on that. usually between Ben or I, we've had the conversations with students who might be struggling more, who might be, either leaving our program or taking leave of absence and withdrawing, or who are going to take an incomplete. Ben also at that time will focus his outreach to students who haven't yet signed up for an appointment, to really give them priority and make sure that he has that contact with everybody. So he'll make that change and then release dates for everyone else. So if students want to meet with him multiple times during the semester, they absolutely can. And a lot of students find that meeting with Ben really helpful, and we'll check in with him a couple of times. But we want to make sure that everyone has at least some contact with him. So that is something that Ben does to kind of reach out to those, maybe the last couple of students who haven't signed up yet. Or maybe it's following up with students who have been brought to our attention as, it's particularly around that incomplete. It doesn't happen very often, but something that we remain mindful of in the program, especially because people are working full time, may have families, and have recently added school, and life comes up. So we have had, we're going through the incomplete process right now with a student because life has really hit that student with some stuff. So providing support and connection between the faculty and the students of like, if this is a process you have to go through, we can kind of walk you through it. We know what is needed for the incomplete. I might have a phone call with the faculty to help them, fully understand the incomplete policy at Framingham State. I try to also put a bit more onus on the student to be the one who is really coming up with the plan for the incomplete and who is keeping track of what assignments have they not done, what can they complete before the end of the semester, what are the things that they're going to need to stay on top of and what supports they need. So that student who's taking an incomplete might also be scheduling weekly check-ins with Ben about how things are going and just making sure that they're staying on track, because we definitely don't want that to build up or overwhelm once a new semester starts. And then we also email students, nearing the end of the semester is when, they're often starting to think about those final assignments. And at that time, we like to provide another reminder of the supports that are available to them, particularly the library and CASA, and just provide encouragement too, that they are definitely in a season of their life where they are working really hard and juggling a lot of things, and students are successful in this program and often benefit from having just like spaces with Ben where they can talk about what's going on and feel heard, or just receive some encouragement and know that like the program is rooting for them as well. And then at the end of the semester, similar to how we did at the beginning of the semester, we like to check in and meet with faculty again. Really helpful for that beginning of the semester meeting and end of the semester meeting to get on a Zoom call, and really be able to talk together. So we'll meet with the faculty that worked with the cohort and talk about, what came up during the semester, any concerns that there were, anything that, the professor who's teaching them next semester might be helpful to know about, or, how do these students really work well or respond well, or, um, get feedback from professors around like, oh, this group really likes role plays, or this group does really well with discussions, or maybe like, the main challenge is getting the work in on time, but the classes, when we're meeting together are really great. So just, things that we like to have that information around so that we also know like again, this group of students is traveling through the program together. So we like to get a sense of the character of that cohort, and make sure that, we're supporting them throughout their journey with us. And so that is intrusive advising as we do it throughout the course of a semester. At the end of the semester, we've maybe got a couple weeks and then we're starting it over, meeting with the next round of professors that will have a cohort. But that is the overview of how we do intrusive advising in our program. I've got our contact information at the end here. Again, Maura Kelly is our program director. I am one of two program coordinators, and Ben is one of two program advisors. Go ahead and stop my share there. I think we are moving now into Q&A, I suppose.
Sorry about that. On a call with a student. Did anybody have any questions for Ben, Sarah, or Maura? I'm going to stop recording.